Have you ever wondered why some people stay calm in chaos, while others break at the slightest pressure? What if I told you that the secret lies in 2,000-year-old wisdom, not just for monks or philosophers, but for you today? In this video, we'll explore 7 daily habits rooted in Stoic philosophy, practical, powerful, and backed by both ancient truth and modern science. If you're ready to take ownership of your reactions, sharpen your focus, and live a more intentional life, then hit that subscribe button and let's begin your transformation. 1. Awareness over reaction, mastering the inner gap. Life throws things at us every day: traffic jams, rude comments, unexpected delays. But the Stoics believed we are not disturbed by events themselves, but by our judgment of them. This ancient insight comes from Epictetus, who taught that it's not things that upset us, but our interpretations of them. A delay is just a delay until we decide it means I'm going to be late and look bad. A rude comment is just a sound until we give it the power to define our worth. The external world is filled with noise and unpredictability, but the internal world, our mind, is where meaning is assigned, and in that gap lies the key to inner peace. This is where power begins, in the space between what happens and how we respond. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, echoed this Stoic idea in modern language. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Most people live in reaction, bouncing from emotion to emotion, event to event, without ever examining the space in between. But those who master that gap, who can pause, reflect, and respond with intention, possess true power. Not power over others, but power over the only thing that matters, themselves. Instead of snapping back or spiraling emotionally, practice the pause. Notice your triggers. Take a breath. Choose your response. Each moment of discomfort is an opportunity to train your inner awareness. That tightness in your chest, the clenching of your jaw, the rising heat behind your eyes, these are your cues. Instead of defaulting to the familiar reaction, anger, withdrawal, defensiveness, try something radical. Nothing. Just breathe, observe, step outside your own thoughts like a calm witness. Then, from that centered place, choose your next move. This is how we shift from being controlled by life to consciously co-creating it. This is emotional resilience in action, grounded in ancient wisdom, echoed in modern cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT, one of the most evidence-based therapies today, teaches that thoughts influence emotions, which influence behavior. Sound familiar? That's Stoicism in a lab coat. When we learn to challenge distorted thoughts, reframe setbacks, and shift our perspective, we build psychological flexibility. The Stoics were cognitive scientists before the term existed. They knew that the mind is a battlefield, and that the battle is won not by suppressing emotions, but by questioning the stories behind them. Emotional resilience is not about never feeling upset. It's about not being ruled by what you feel. 2. Define the end goal. Live with purpose, not pressure. Most people drift through life reacting to distractions, not guided by direction. The Stoics, like Seneca, urged us to start with the end in mind. Imagine sailing a ship with no destination. Every wind, every wave, every bird in the sky could sway your course, and you'd never arrive anywhere meaningful. That's how most people live, reacting to notifications, bouncing between trends, chasing goals that don't belong to them. Seneca warned that if you don't know what harbor you're heading for, no wind is favorable. Purpose begins when you set your own compass and stop letting life push you around. What do you stand for? What values drive your choices? Values are more than words on a motivational poster. They are filters for every decision you make. Do you value honesty, growth, courage, compassion? Then prove it. in how you spend your time, how you speak to others, how you show up when no one's watching. Ask yourself, before any major choice, does this align with who I say I am? If the answer is no, walk away. If the answer is yes, commit fully. Purpose without values is performance. Purpose with values is power. Write them down. Turn them into a mission. This anchors your decisions and shields you from the chaos of meaningless pursuits. Putting your values and goals into writing turns them into a contract with yourself. It becomes harder to forget, ignore, or abandon them when they're staring back at you in black and white. Your mission might be simple: to live with integrity, to serve my community, to master my craft. But that clarity protects you when temptation knocks, when distractions try to seduce you, or when fear tries to derail you. Your mission becomes a lighthouse in the fog. Purpose isn't something you find, it's something you define and live daily. There's a myth that purpose is buried in some cave or waiting in some job offer. But the Stoics believed that purpose is not discovered, it's forged. You define it by living it. It's in the habits you repeat, the disciplines you uphold, the people you lift up. Every action either builds your mission or betrays it. So, live intentionally. Don't wait to feel inspired. Align your days with your values and inspiration will follow. 3. Prioritize the big rocks. Take control of your time. If you don't decide your priorities, the world will decide them for you. Every email, text, and notification is someone else's agenda, not yours. If you don't set firm boundaries around your time, you'll become a pawn in other people's games. Life has a way of filling up with trivial things unless you carve out space for the meaningful. The Stoics were not against productivity, but they were against wasted life. And nothing is more wasteful than spending your days chasing what doesn't matter. The Stoics taught us to protect our time like a treasure. Block your schedule, identify the tasks that move your life forward, say no to the trivial. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal not to waste time debating what a good man is, just be one. In modern terms, stop planning endlessly and start doing the essential. Time block your calendar. Build rituals that support your energy. Focus on the tasks that lead to your long-term goals, not just the ones that feel urgent. Learn to say no, even to good things, so you can say yes to great ones. Ask yourself daily, is this essential, or is it noise disguised as urgency? This question, is this essential, is a Stoic scalpel. It cuts through the illusion of importance. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it's valuable. Many so-called emergencies are just distractions in costume. Every time you answer a non-essential email or scroll mindlessly, you're borrowing from the time you could have spent on your true calling. Strip your schedule of fluff. Let silence, space, and structure become your allies. High-impact habits begin when you treat your minutes as if your life depends on them, because it does. Think of each minute as a coin from a finite pile. Would you hand those coins out to anyone, for anything? Your time is the most precious, non-renewable asset you own. Build habits that protect it. Early mornings, deep work sessions, digital boundaries, these are the tools of time warriors. The Stoics lived with an awareness of mortality. Memento mori, remember you must die, is not a grim reminder, but a galvanizing one. It wakes you up to live fully, here and now. 4. Adopt the win-win mindset. Strengthen every relationship. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would meet selfish, envious, and misguided people, but that they're still part of the same whole. This wasn't pessimism, it was preparation. Marcus didn't expect perfection from others. He expected humanity. By accepting that people are flawed, confused, or hurt, he freed himself from constant frustration. We're all threads in the same fabric, cells in the same body. To lash out at others is to harm yourself. This radical empathy isn't weakness. It's wisdom, the kind that frees you from resentment and plants you in peace. Instead of competing, seek to create. Choose empathy over ego. Seek outcomes that serve everyone. In a world driven by rivalry, the Stoic seeks synergy. Instead of asking, how can I win? Ask, how can we both thrive? Empathy allows you to understand, not just respond. And creativity allows you to build solutions no one saw coming. The greatest innovators, leaders, and negotiators adopt this win-win lens. They don't fight for crumbs, they bake a bigger pie. The win-win mindset is not weakness, it's wisdom in action. It builds trust, loyalty, and real strength. Relationships are your greatest asset, personally and professionally. When people know you're not out to use them, but to uplift them, they trust you. That trust compounds over time. It opens doors, smooths conflict, and builds alliances. Even in competition, you can lead with integrity. Win-win isn't naive, it's strategic. In the long game of life, cooperation beats conquest. Your ability to lead starts with your ability to listen, to cooperate, and to rise above petty power plays. Leadership doesn't begin with authority, it begins with attitude. The best leaders listen deeply, acknowledge others' worth, and rise above ego-driven battles. Petty power plays poison morale and weaken teams, but leaders who elevate others, who seek shared victory, create cultures of excellence. The Stoics would say, don't worry about control, focus on contribution, and from that space, true influence flows. 5. Listen like a philosopher. Learn before you speak. Seneca said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen more and talk less. This isn't just a clever saying, it's a fundamental shift in how we approach conversation and knowledge. In a world of constant chatter, instant reactions, and social media soundbites, the art of listening is vanishing. True listening, the kind that philosophers prized, is a discipline. It's an act of humility, of intellectual restraint. When Seneca made that remark, he was pointing to a deeper truth. Wisdom isn't loud, it's patient. To truly absorb what another person is saying, you must quiet your internal commentary. You must suspend the reflex to compare, rebut, or outshine. Listening is not the absence of talking, it's the presence of attention. And that attention is the first gate through which wisdom walks. True listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about reading emotion, understanding intent, and withholding judgment. Words are only the surface. Beneath them lies a sea of meaning: fear, pride, pain, love, confusion. A philosopher listens not just to what is said, but to what is meant. This takes emotional intelligence and disciplined presence. When you listen this way, you don't simply respond, you connect. You become a mirror for the speaker's thoughts, allowing them to see themselves more clearly. That clarity is transformative. This is why ancient philosophers often asked more questions than they gave answers. Socrates, for instance, would keep probing until his conversation partner stumbled upon truth by themselves. The power of his method came from listening, deep, intentional, ego-free listening. Suspend your assumptions. Don't wait for your turn to speak. Wait to understand. That's where influence begins. Most people confuse listening with pausing. They don't hear. They rehearse their next line while the other person is talking. This isn't listening, it's positioning. It's manipulation dressed as attention. The philosopher takes another path. They approach every conversation as an opportunity to learn, not perform. They do not assume they already know. They pause to ask, what can I understand better here? What does this person believe and why? This shift transforms interaction into inquiry. When people feel genuinely heard, they stop performing too. They open up. They trust. That's where real influence starts, not by overpowering others with arguments, but by drawing them closer through empathy. People will forget what you say, but they won't forget how deeply you made them feel heard. At the heart of listening like a philosopher is a kind of sacred attention. It's not transactional, it's relational, in workplaces, families, friendships, and leadership. This kind of presence builds unshakable trust. When people feel seen and understood, even amid disagreement, they remain open, they feel safe. And that safety allows for transformation. You may forget the content of a conversation, but you'll never forget the moment someone made space for your truth. Philosophers knew this. That's why the wise speak less, but say more. They've earned the right to speak by first mastering the discipline of listening. 6. Harness synergy. Collaborate to create more. The Stoics valued the common good. They believed we were made for each other, not against each other. Marcus Aurelius said, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." This idea, sympathia, reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. In Stoicism, personal excellence isn't pursued in isolation. It blossoms in service of the whole. The Stoic doesn't ask, "How do I win?" but "How do we all thrive?" This mindset creates a shift from competition to contribution. Into a world obsessed with individualism, the Stoics remind us that the deepest fulfillment and greatest achievements often emerge from working together for a shared good. Synergy isn't just cooperation, it's creative fusion. It's what happens when trust, diversity, and purpose intersect. Think of synergy as musical harmony. Different notes played together, creating something more beautiful than any one note could alone. When you collaborate with openness and intention, you activate possibilities that didn't exist before. The Stoics might not have used the term synergy, but their lives modeled it. Mentorship, discourse, community responsibility. Epictetus taught that no one grows in a vacuum. We refine our character through friction, dialogue, and feedback. Synergy, then, is the multiplier of growth. It transforms isolated efforts into collective brilliance, and it thrives only when ego steps aside. Invite perspectives, question your assumptions, build bridges. That's how breakthroughs happen. The greatest obstacle to collaboration is pride, the belief that our way is the only way. Stoicism teaches the opposite. It invites us to examine our impressions, to accept that we may be wrong, and to remain students for life. Collaboration isn't about agreement, it's about alignment. You don't have to think alike to work together, but you do need shared values, curiosity, humility, and purpose. When you surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, your ideas sharpen. When you unite under a common mission, creativity explodes. Dialogue replaces debate. Critique becomes contribution. These are the conditions under which greatness is born. You don't rise alone. You rise with others. True power is shared power. The Stoics saw leadership not as dominance, but as stewardship. A wise person uplifts those around them. They don't hoard insight, they share it. They don't compete for credit, they collaborate for change. Real strength lies in interdependence, not independence. If your success isolates you, it's fragile. If your growth empowers others, it's enduring. Look at history's most transformative movements. They weren't solo acts, they were synergies. People united by vision, bound by trust, and driven by a purpose greater than self-interest. The Stoic path leads us not to self-centered triumph, but to collective elevation. 7. Maintain balanced self-care. Build the foundation for everything. The Stoics weren't emotionless, they were disciplined. They believed in caring for the body and mind as a moral duty. There's a dangerous myth that Stoicism means suppressing feelings, or grinding through life without rest. In truth, Stoicism emphasizes alignment between reason, action, and well-being. Marcus Aurelius bathed, exercised, ate mindfully, and journaled. He understood that physical and mental hygiene were not optional. They were essential to virtue. If your mind is chaotic and your body is neglected, how can you serve others? How can you pursue wisdom? Self-care to the Stoic isn't indulgence, it's stewardship. You are a vessel. Keep that vessel strong, clear, and clean. Sleep, nutrition, movement, reflection, these aren't luxuries. They're prerequisites for a strong, steady life. We live in a culture that praises overwork and burnout, but the Stoics would call that foolishness, not strength. You can't function well when you're depleted. Skipping sleep doesn't make you dedicated, it makes you less effective. Skipping meals, avoiding exercise, or drowning in distraction pollutes your mind and saps your virtue. A Stoic protects their routines as fiercely as their values. Morning reflection, deliberate movement, eating with intention, these are not trends. They're timeless disciplines. You don't build resilience in crisis, you build it in daily maintenance. That's what makes you ready for the storms. Guard your energy. Create space to think, disconnect to reconnect. And remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Your energy is your most precious resource, and modern life constantly drains it. Notifications, noise, obligations, emotional labor. A philosopher knows that stillness is not laziness, it's strategic. You must protect your solitude to preserve your sanity. You must schedule downtime the way you schedule meetings. Walks in nature, quiet evenings, long baths, deep breathing, these are not distractions from productivity. They are what make productivity possible. And more than that, they restore your soul. Because when you are full, you can give more freely. When you are rested, you can lead with clarity. When you are whole, you can love without condition. Self-care isn't selfish, it's self-respect. It says, I matter too. It says, I am worth maintaining. And more importantly, it says, if I am to serve others, I must first serve my own needs with wisdom. The Stoics would agree. Self-neglect is not virtue, it's vanity disguised as sacrifice. The disciplined life is not a life of denial, but of balance. It honors the mind, the body, and the spirit equally. And from that balance comes strength. When you care for yourself like a philosopher, you build the foundation for everything else: courage, compassion, clarity, and contribution. These aren't just tips, they're tools, tested by time, reinforced by science, and ready to reshape your life. Awareness, purpose, focus, empathy, listening, collaboration, self-care. Start with one habit. Practice it today. Then, another tomorrow. This is how transformation begins. Subscribe if you're ready to live like a modern Stoic, calm in the storm, clear in your purpose, and powerful in your presence.